It's Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, and this year also Omobola Stephen. On Live Well Lived, we like to focus on personal development and self-improvement topics, occasioning experts and professionals who have the right information to share with the audience of Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen on topics and subjects on the personal development and self-improvement. It's very important for me to let you know that personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that we all must embrace in life in order for us to move from where we had to where we need to be. It's worth the effort at the end of the day if we don't give up on these. And now talking about on today's show, we'll be focusing on narcissism. And now on narcissism abuse. I have Diaz, who's the author of the bestseller for Her, The Stranglehold of Narcissistic Abuse. Hi, Diaz. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me, Dana. We want to talk about narcissism and how we can heal from it. You have a personal experience to share, and I'm happy to know that you also have a book focusing on this. Like now, from your own point of view, what do you think is a narcissistic abuse?
Narcissistic abuse, it's simple. It's what it sounds like. It's when a narcissist abuses you, but we are talking about harmful narcissists, which are called malignant narcissists, because there are people that have narcissistic qualities that are actually narcissists, but they're not bothering anybody. But then there are those, and the ones that we're talking about, that are using different tactics, abusive tactics, to manipulate somebody in order to achieve their feeling of superiority and to have that power and control that they need to fulfill their ego.
Oh, right. So, now how does it manifest in a person's life? Now, has it been there since childhood, but we fail to recognize or acknowledge it in so much as we can try to stop it from becoming a part of us? Do you understand the question I had?
Yes.
Yes, because sometimes this will have been a manifest in our lives right from childhood, but we don't take, we are not oblivious of it, not until become, a better part of us and they begin to affect us and our relationship decisions. So what would you like to share in this regard?
Well, it's a debate, actually. There are a couple different schools of thought on that. It's basically the nature versus nurture, because there are people who think it's a genetic situation, that you're born a narcissist. I don't know about any evidence that I have ever read or seen that really supports that, but some people believe that and believe there's evidence. I believe more in the nurture theory, which is that narcissists are created in childhood. From my experience and from what I've researched over the years, either they have been overly exalted by their parents and made to feel that much more superior and more entitled than the average person. Or on the other hand, they have maybe been neglected or abused themselves and seek to feel more important and more powerful and more in control of their lives by putting that on another human being. So those are the two different ways that I have seen it personally, and there is evidence to support that.
Oh, now are narcissists, are they abusive? Is it majorly all of them?
Not all of them. Like I said, there are some. I always say it's like a tumor. A tumor can be benign. It can just be there and not be bothering you. But then the malignant tumors, they cause you health problems. They might kill you. It's the same way with narcissists. There are some people that are narcissists, but they're not bothering anybody. They're not abusive. They just have an overly healthy self-esteem and think of themselves, in a very high way. But there are those that are abusive, and they will abuse you in a multitude of ways. It might be verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. There's legal and financial abuse. They manipulate you. They control you. It's a very overwhelming situation for a person to be in.
In narcissism and the relationship, we find ourselves in this kind of relationships, and we're asking ourselves, how did I find myself here? How did I get here in the first place?
Yeah, in my experience, I think it was because I was abused as a child. And unfortunately, in my situation, I would go to my mother. It was her husband that was abusing me. And my mother would constantly tell me that he was only mistreating me to the same extent that he cared about me. So she was basically telling me that this is how somebody that loves you treats you. And combined with the verbal and physical abuse that I was being inflicted with by my stepfather, I had a very low self-esteem. I knew what he was doing was wrong, but at the same time, it's all I knew. I had this negative narrative around me. So all that I knew was that I was nothing, just like he said, and that I deserved nothing and I would never be anything. And he even would tell me all the time that nobody would ever love me. So I had no way to think that I was deserving of a normal or healthy relationship or of love at all. I thought I had to earn it because that's what I had to do as a child growing up. Was I had to do what was expected of me to get approval. And if there was, disapproval, I was punished. So, I carried that unfortunately into my adult life. And in a situation with a narcissist who wants servitude and wants you to live by their rules, it sort of created the perfect storm because I thought I had to follow rules to get love, to earn love.
Personalities. Do they ever fall in love? And now, what do you think is behind their motive when to do?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, looking back, I'm not sure if they're capable of loving anyone but themselves because they have no empathy, they have no remorse. They go through motions, but oftentimes it's because they know how to mimic what they see. So they'll look at what they perceive as a loving and healthy relationship and they mimic that behavior, but it's not authentic. They don't really feel it because at the end of the day, the only person they're worried about is themselves and they just don't have concern. It's very unfortunate in my own experience in my previous marriage. I wrote about it in my book that one of the most heartbreaking things was when I was going through a miscarriage and my then husband turned up the volume on the TV so that he didn't have to hear me crying. But I was right there. I was begging him to help me. I was telling him that I needed him and he ignored me. That's not normal for somebody to do that. That's not, even in a situation that any of us would be in, even if we didn't care for that person, it disliked them maybe. I think that we would all feel some sense of compassion and humanity to help somebody that was crying out for help. And he didn't. And that carried throughout many situations in our marriage. Because that's how narcissists are, unfortunately.
Now, really, this is an unfortunate, experience in the life of so many of us. Now, really, how does it affect one's life? Now, talking about the mental aspect.
Yeah, mentally, it's very diminishing. Over time, you start to question your worthiness. You question whether it's you or is it them, but they make you feel like it's your fault. So you have anxiety about it. You have doubt. You have depression because to say sadness is an understatement. You feel so low. And most of us lose our sense of ourselves as well because we have such a low self-image and low self-esteem. We're made to feel so badly about how we are that we almost think we deserve it, but it's just a tremendous sadness that, and many people, unfortunately, you get to the point where you don't even want to live anymore because you're made to feel so badly about who you are. So, I mean, mentally, it's so diminishing. It's so destructive.
Right. Thank you, Jana Diaz, for sharing that thought with us. Now, so what does the healing process look like for a person who's able to get out of an abusive relationship? Like to share your story?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I like to focus on the healing part of it because so many people get caught in their circumstances, and they become their circumstances. They become a victim forevermore. I did not want that to be. After I got sick as a result of living in this chronic stress that I was living in, I realized that I was living somebody else's life. I was living a life that was dictated to me, everything down to what I wore, what I ate, what I said, where I went. I couldn't do unless it fell within certain parameters. So I just said, Dana, what do you want? I just asked myself that simple question. What do I want? What do I want my life to look like? And I knew right away I wanted to use my college degree in journalism to be a writer. I always had. And I wanted to travel. I wanted to see things. I wanted to have friends. I wanted to have family. I wanted to connect with people. I wasn't allowed these simple things. And I wanted to be married too, just to somebody that reciprocated respect and love and even just kindness. And that wasn't going to happen in the situation I was in. So I had to love myself enough to get out. And unfortunately, it became most violent after our divorce, but I did survive. And I want people to understand this was just 3 years ago. But what healing looked like for me, in my head at that time, I thought I need to be alone. I think there's this idea that we need time and we need to be alone in our head and with our thoughts. And through this journey of healing absolutely is a journey. And I don't think it ever ends. I think you're just somewhere along the path of it as your life goes on after trauma. However, I fortunately had some people in my life that had surprised me that they cared so much, because I did not think that anybody cared. I felt very alone. But these people stood by me. They loved me. And one of those people I'm actually married to now. And it's the last thing I ever thought I would ever do again was get married, never mind within such a short time after coming out of such a terrible 25-year-long relationship and marriage. But what I found was that kindness and having people speak to me positively, those uplifting words, those encouraging words, sort of shifted my perspective of myself so that I could start to heal from a place of love in my own heart. I had to love myself enough to take the responsibility to heal, to want to heal, because healing is not some magical thing where you go to sleep and your fairy godmother springs magic dust on you and you wake up and you're smiling and you're happy and everything's good. Healing is a terrible, terrible struggle, because you are actually going back in time in your mind and in your heart, and even your body has physical reactions to all these things that you wish never happened to you. So it's ugly and it's saddening and it's frightening, and it's just a harrowing experience. But if you have love around you, if you have support and you have people feeding you with positive thoughts and positive emotions about yourself and about the world around you, you can get through it so much quicker, I think, and in such a better way. Because imagine, I went through my childhood and 25 years of my life. We're talking over 4 decades, 40 some years. All I was told was I wasn't going to be loved. Nobody wanted me. Nobody liked me. Nobody. I was nothing. So to suddenly be around people that said, no, you're very lovable. You're really intelligent. You speak very well. You're really pretty. All these nice things. I wasn't used to it, but then I started to see myself differently. It's sort of like brainwashing. We internalize the words and the actions of those around us. So it's about surrounding yourself with the right people. And it's just unfortunate that it wasn't until the middle, of my life that I started, surrounding myself with the right people. But with those right people in place, it helped me to feel better about myself so that I could be brave and be strong and go and face these demons of my past and deal with them and process them and understand things from a better place, but not from a victim circumstance, because I had a choice. I could either be a victim of those circumstances and, yes, they were awful, and I could be sad and cry about it and say, poor me the rest of my life, or I could live a different life. And I wanted to live happily. I wanted to live free of the burdens that other people put on me, because at the end of the day, that's what I realized in my healing journey, was that I had been carrying in my heart all the shame and insecurities and guilt and all these awful things of other people's unhealed trauma. But it wasn't my trauma. They traumatized me with their unhealed trauma. So when I released it and gave it back to them and said, okay, now I understand and I see it for what it is, and I'm not going to carry your burdens anymore, then I was able to free myself. I was able to live my life, and I want to be happy. And guess what? As I got happy, I got healthy. And now I'm living the life that I never thought I would live. And it's not about having fancy cars and big houses or anything like that. It's about being married to somebody who actually likes me and respects me and treats me well, and having a good relationship with my son where we're not living in fear. We're just free to be who we are and the authentic selves. There's so much joy in that. And so many people miss that because they're so focused on what happened to them that they're not really looking at what their life could be. And so that's why I want to bring the focus to that healing and show people that there's an amazing life on the other side. You just have to go through the storm, to see the rainbow at the end.
So thanks for sharing that with us, Dana. Do you have any projects or exciting news you'd like to share with my audience?
Well, I am working on 2 more books. They will hopefully be out by next summer. One of them will be about, I'm currently working on it right now. It will be about my childhood, because I think it's very important for people to understand how they are who they are. Because if I would have understood that, I probably wouldn't have been so, easily swayed into my previous marriage, which was tormenting. But I'm working on that. And then I'm also working on another book that focuses more on this healing aspect and what a healthy relationship looks like after a life of trauma, because there is the possibility, I promise you, there is a healthy relationship waiting. We are capable of it despite our circumstances.
Absolutely. I wish you best of luck, Dana Diaz, in this project and also in subsequent ones that you embark upon. Do you have any parting word you'd like to share with my audience?
I just want everybody to realize that they have an impact on their own lives and on the lives of others. Just remember that your words and actions will impact the people in your life just as much as theirs will impact you. So be careful who you choose to allow around you. Remain positive and know there is a beautiful life ahead of you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the motivation, Dana. We'd like to connect with you. Can you share your social media handles on your website?
Yes, of course. Actually, if everybody goes to my website, danasdiaz.com, there are links to Facebook and Instagram. You can also email me from there. And this podcast will be featured with others on my press room page.
Right. Thanks once again, Dana Diaz, on Library by Omobola Stephen. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on today's show, especially talking about narcissistic abuse and how we can heal from it. I wish you the best of luck in the book projects that you're working upon. Once again, Dana.
Thank you so much.
All right. Now, if you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of Library by Omobola Stephen, you can do so on any cross-promotion platforms or any distribution platforms that you bump into online. And do have a great time as you listen to experts and thought leaders, professionals share their thoughts and insights on topics under personal development and self-improvement. I need you to stay safe always. I talk to you soon.